Thank you for bringing me up to the stage to Q21. I'm happily sharing my thoughts about time and my thoughts about Bitcoin for families. I'm Lea, one of the hosts of Zeitsprung Bitcoin, and I'm also a midwife. Can you hear me? I think a lot about time, about lifetime, about the time before life even starts in a biological manner. And by thinking about time, you cannot help but thinking about death as well. And maybe you never thought about it, but birth already embodies a little bit of death, even with the healthiest child and mother. You know, the placenta is the most crucial organ during the baby's life in the mother's womb. And the placenta is dying right after birth. You can choose to leave the placenta attached to the baby until it falls off, but it will inevitably fall off and die. It's not needed anymore. Life and death go hand by hand. It's kind of scary to think that way, right? But it shows where we are all going in the end. So, why even bother having children in the first place if we are all going to die anyways? Does it make any sense? And my answer is yes. If anything in life makes any sense, it is having children. And I do not want to judge women or couples who decide otherwise. It's up to everyone themselves. But for me, it's central to life. It was one of the first things Patrick and I talked about when we met each other 15 years ago. You know, I have 2 children. And I asked myself, why did we even wait so long until we started a family? Why did we not have more children? Why was everyone else waiting so long? Why do we get less and less children in this wealthy society? And this is where one of my favorite children's books comes in. I'm sure at least some of you heard of the story of Momo, one of the most popular books of the 70s and well into the 90s, I guess, in Germany, written by AmityAge EDU. And I remember sitting in my children's room, listening to the trilogy of cassettes, day in and day out, until the tape was just making that horrible grinding noise. Momo is a story about mindfulness, about the art of listening, and the secret of life and time. I'm gonna tell you the story in a few words so everyone is on the same page with me. Momo is a fairy tale about a little girl that somehow appears at the edge of the city. And there's something really special about her. She has the gift of listening. She dedicates herself to being completely present while listening, and thus she has really good friends, and everyone enjoys being around her. But one day, sinister gray men take over the city. They tell everybody to save time. They tell people how to do it. Do not talk to your neighbor, work quicker, give away your pet, do not have leisure time. You have to save time in any possible way. Everybody listens to them. Everybody saves time. But no one ever remembers meeting the gray man. Everybody becomes gray themselves and very sad. The children are being called day thieves. They are only seen as the ones who steal your time. So all of the kids are being brought to a depot during the day. The automatic sliding doors open in the morning. The children are being brought inside. And in the evening, slides are opening again. And they come out and are going back to their families. But the parents are too tired to listen to them. No one has time anymore. And I did not have a name for dystopia yet at that age, but for sure it felt that way. The story really made me sad. Children that are not allowed to stay with their families or unattended with their friends. Parents who are always too tired to listen. And now, what's the difference to the reality we as parents and our children are facing today? We have to be very effective. We have to save time, always. Our children have to attend school. In Germany, we have the Schulpflicht, the obligation to attend school. After school, most of the children need to go to daycare, so the parents can go to work. In big cities, because of the expensive housing, mostly, you do not have a chance to do it otherwise. And for example, in Munich, and I'm sure it applies to a lot of big cities, you only can get a spot for your child in daycare if you choose to do it the whole day or not at all. So there's no really free decision how to bring up your child. The only important thing is that we give our workforce to society. And the pretext is always emancipation. And do not get me wrong, I find emancipation very, very important. But emancipation as well means to me that I'm able to decide whether I work or not in the first years of my children or my husband. I would have loved Patrick to stay at home as a perfect stay-at-home dad. But let's take a look at the numbers. Because in the end, it's a financial decision. Children cost about 208,000 euro until they're of age. And on top, you have loss of earnings of about 140,000 euros. Single parents are at risk of poverty, and a high percentage of the disposable income goes to the children, especially the single parents. And in case of widowhood, you're alone anyways. And young grown-ups indebt themselves to study and live with their parents. And this is a picture of Patrick in university with our firstborn on his back while I was at work. So, becoming parents is risky. You either accept that you might be poor when you're old, or that you have poor children and you cannot afford to give them the best that you want to have them to have, or we accept that our society shrinks. And the poverty brings cultural risks. You will be more lonely because you cannot attend cultural activities. The children are more time in external care, and that leads to alienation within the families. You have less time and less energy for social contacts. So what are the consequences? Either you accept or you have disposable income for a lot of insurances, and you have to really consider what insurance is good and which not. Or you fall back on social benefits and it doesn't prevent poverty. Or the partner earns a lot more and is able to save money for you in the pension fund, but we all know it doesn't work anymore. Or you just don't get children. DINKS is a short for double income, no kids. And for sure, it's a decision for life too. Let's talk about disposable income, because I never thought about what's disposable income before. According to to the Deutschland Atlas, it's a statistic that the difference in disposable income is getting smaller. And I think that's good news. Great, right? I forgot to do it in English. But the thing is, what is the disposable income? It's the income that is left over after cost of living for savings, consumptions, and investment. And cost of living means housing, means food, means culture, it means what you spend on gastronomy, on communication, on health. So if you have a higher income, you won't see it in the end as disposable income, because you already spend it on housing and on gastronomy. And this is where Bitcoin and time preference comes in for me. There's nothing scarcer than time. So I want to use a money that is as scarce as my life. I want to use Bitcoin because it helps me save time for later. And you know, in the end, when we're on our deathbed, we don't say, I didn't work enough. We say, I didn't spend enough time with the ones I love. We only run after the money. And instead of that picture, I would have loved to see this more. And for me, Bitcoin fixes this. We can stop running after the money. We can stack sats for the future. Money, for me, is a surrogacy for time. And I want to spend more time with my family. If you save hard money, you can really save time. Young women and men can really prepare for their own future, for having children, and for the future of their children. Gaining back hope in a better future. And it brings us a new lightheartedness. So what I think, the generation that we bring up is the first generation living with Bitcoin. And don't forget, time is life, and life exists in our hearts.
Thank you very much, first of all. And second of all, this is probably one of the more moving presentations that we had. We definitely wanted to bring a bit of emotion on the stage back because people get carried away with the stuff. I think that this is what's more important than what we have been talking about before. So if you have any questions, please have them fine.
So what would you do differently right now, raising your kids what you learn that would be like, this is something that I would do different right now?
If I knew earlier about Bitcoin, I would have saved in Bitcoin early on before I even thought about having children, for the possibility of becoming a mother, to be able to spend the first years at home. Yes.
Another question. Another question. We're getting ready, or like, we want to start working on kids with my girlfriend this year. Okay. Thank you. So what are the advices, or maybe just one top advice that you would give us as somebody who already, we are 5 years together, super talking about kids, we're super excited. What's the advice you would give us?
So as a midwife, I know that the time before pregnancy even matters as well. Be as healthy as possible even before, because in the long run, this pays out for the health of your children as well. And if you focus on your own health and the health of your family, everything's gonna play out fine.
Thank you.
Actually, I'm not. You have to speak up.
I'm not too sure whether saving in Bitcoin or saving is really the game changer, or whether the problem isn't that that young couples, most of them just don't save, no matter whether they don't save on the Sparbuch, or they don't save in funds, or they don't save in shares. Well, what is your idea concerning that? Do you really have an idea that people, like young couples in their early 20s, that they don't save because they think like, oh, anyway, the money will be gone? Or is it more like, life is fun like this, and let's have one holiday after the other, and one nice car after the other, and one nice party after the other? I'm not so sure whether like a stable money or fiat, like Bitcoin or fiat money, really makes that much a difference in perception of people.
I think it does. I think if you're not able to save in a really hard money, you don't think about saving a lot. But, there are always people who are not keen on saving. And I tried to save money, and it didn't work out for me because I'm working in the social system. I don't see pay raises, not even every few years. So I really had to run quicker and quicker every year. I felt it, even though I saved. And that is hard. And I think young couples can feel that too. And the women, how would they be able to focus on becoming a mother if they're not sure if everything plays out for them in the years after having the child? Maybe they're on their own then. And on what will they fall back? Maybe on nothing. Thank you.